Hello, everyone. We have a fantastic volume for you this week. Let's jump into it. Here is your waiver wire pickups at the quarterback position. First, Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 25 points in his first game, and he has the weapons with this team. Even last year, before he got benched, he was a top 15 quarterback. Next, Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. He finally hits a little bit of a soft spot in his schedule, and they're in must win mode practically for the rest of the year. So hopefully you see MVP Aaron Rodgers. And finally, Bo Nix, Denver Broncos. 5 of his 7 games, he's been top 15 QB. He has been right around QB 13 overall for the season, and 4 of his next 5 games are against soft defenses. So that's your waiver wire pickups.
Hey guys, how's it going? Here are my suggestions for who to pick up in week 8 at wide receiver in fantasy football. First up, I like Rashad Bateman. Bateman had 4 catches for 121 yards and 1 touchdown on Monday Night Football in week 7. He's only owned in 17% of Yahoo leagues, and in 4 of his last 5 matchups, he's scored double-digit PPR points. Moving on, I like picking up Keon Coleman this week as well. The rookie had his breakout game of the season in week 7, recording 4 catches for 125 yards on 7 targets. Those 7 targets are encouraging as it signifies that even with the addition of Amari Cooper, there should still be a good opportunity in this offense for Coleman. And lastly, I like picking up Cedric Tillman. This past week, he had 8 catches for 81 yards on 12 targets. The Browns are going to want to see what they have with him, and I expect them to give him some high volume without Amari Cooper in this offense. He's available in 99% of Yahoo leagues, and you can probably acquire him for $0 worth of your fab budget.
Looking for running backs for the Week 8 waiver wire? I got you covered. First up, number one priority on the list should be Alexander Madison of the Las Vegas Raiders. Zamir White came back, but he still led the rushing committee. Guy had 23 carries for 92 yards and caught all 3 of his targets for 31 yards. He's available in roughly half the leagues out there, and if he's available in yours, you need to do anything you can to pick him up on the waiver wire. We're also looking at Jalen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's available in roughly 58% of leagues. Now, I know Najee Harris, he's still the guy there. He's still going to be getting majority of the touches. However, Warren is going to get his opportunities as well. We saw him get 12 rushes for 44 yards, and he had 3 targets, catching 2 of them for 15 yards. Not bad for a backup option, and if something happens to Najee, well, he's going to be your guy. Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons, he's available in 60% of leagues. He had a bad outing because they were playing from behind, so there wasn't a lot going on in Week 7. Week 7, he only saw 5 rushes for 36 yards and 1 catch for 9 yards. However, if this is a team that can get a lead, which, hey, the Falcons, they have the firepower to keep leads, they will be running the ball more often, and he will be a solid pickup. Now, players we're looking to stash. If you have the space on your roster, you might want to consider stashing Kimani Vidal of the Los Angeles Chargers. He's available in 85% of leagues. He saw a 24% snap share, and he's next in line if Dobbins misses any time due to any injuries in the future. We're also looking to stash Kendre Miller of the New Orleans Saints. He's available in 95% of leagues. He made his season debut in Week 7, and he looks good, and he looks in line to take the possible backup role from Jamal Williams. And if anything happens to Kamara, he's the guy.
Nice calls, Jordan. And my top waiver wire pickup at the tight end position this week is David Njoku. If he is still somehow available in your league, he's a must pickup. He was the tight end 2 overall this past week and saw massive volume with 14 targets. With Amari Cooper now gone, he is the only sure thing in the Browns passing game moving forward and is a must start the rest of season. I also like Cade Otton. Otton is seeing great volume, averaging 8 targets per game over the last 2 weeks. He's coming off a 100-yard performance, and the Buccaneers are likely going to be without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for the foreseeable future. Baker Mayfield will still be able to sling the ball, and Otton should be a beneficiary. Jatavion Sanders is another decent option at the tight end position. He's averaging 6.5 targets per game over the last 2 contests. This week he turned in the tight end 11 overall performance. He could be a decent bye week or injury fill-in if you need a tight end. Will Disley also is an interesting option to stash in deeper leagues. He saw 11 targets on Monday night and finished the game with 8 catches for 81 yards. Disley could be fool's gold on the waiver wire as the Chargers likely won't throw the ball as much going forward, but if you need some depth at the position, he could be worth stashing at the end of your bench. Today on the Great Debate, Jordan and I are discussing whether you should drop an elite kicker on their bye week. I believe you should not drop the elite kicker ever. The median score for a kicker this season is only 8.2 fantasy points per game. And if you have a guy like Brandon Aubrey who's averaging 13 fantasy points per game, you're sacrificing nearly 5 points per game in the long run by replacing him. Think of how many times you've lost a fantasy game by less than 5 points. All of those points add up, and if you have an elite kicker, you don't want to have to replace him with an average or below average one.
You know what, Jacob? Go ahead and keep your kicker, but I'm dropping the kicker. I'm not going to waste an extra spot on my team for a second kicker. Are you out of your mind? Nobody's paying attention to you dropping your kicker, and they're going to sneakily pick him up before you can. Listen, he'll be there when the waivers roll around. If you want to blow a waiver on him when you're picking him up, go right ahead. But I'm not even going to blow a waiver on him to pick him back up. There's plenty of fish in the kicker sea, and I am going to be fishing.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
This week's hot take is about the New York Yankees. They have to win a World Series. This is a legacy World Series for Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, and I think the pressure is really on Cashman too. How? He's not his dad, which is very sad. He said that we don't need to have a $300 million payroll. So I can definitely see him letting Soto walk, letting Cole walk, win or lose, just being like, nope, want to bring him down because he views the Yankees more as a business and he's not his dad who is win at all costs, spend the money, get the best player. So hopefully the Yankees win the World Series and we keep on moving towards hopefully our 30th champion and it keeps piling up.
My hot take this week is going to be short, sweet, and possibly make somebody on the channel cry. Because if you guys were paying attention earlier, just before the playoffs started for the MLB, I said that it was going to be Dodgers versus Yankees and the Dodgers were going to win. Well, I still think the Dodgers are going to win. Matter of fact, I think the Dodgers are going to sweep them. This is going to be a 4-game, done and dusted series. This game is not coming back to LA after game 2, and next week we're going to be sitting here watching Josh cry on camera.
All season, I've been high on Colorado, and my hot take this week is that they will run the table and make the college football playoffs. Deion Sanders is proving that he's an elite coach, and Shedeur Sanders is showcasing that he is one of the top quarterbacks week in and week out with his play on the field. Many have doubted Colorado, but they continue to play good ball and will most likely be ranked for the first time this season after beating Arizona 34-7 on Saturday. Deion Sanders has proven himself to be a man who does things the right way, and he has his team believing and winning games that they would have dropped last season. I'm happy to see his success and expect much bigger things from the Colorado program the rest of the season.
My hot take for this week is that if he remains healthy, Derrick Henry will break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. Henry currently has 873 rushing yards this season through 7 games, and that's good for 124.7 yards per game. And that puts him on pace to run for 2,120 rushing yards, or 15 more yards than Dickerson's record. He gets to face a pathetic Browns team in Week 8, so he should easily be over 1,000 yards rushing. And with the way the Ravens are playing, I like his chances to get the record.
This was a poker hand I played at TCH Social in Austin, Texas. In this hand, I raised with pocket nines under the gun to $15. Two players called in the field, and the small blind 3-bet to 60. I made the call, and the other two players got out of the way. The flop came 6-4 deuce with two hearts and a diamond. He now checks, which surprises me because I thought he would bet all of his hands on this board. But here I think I have a mandatory bet now for value and protection, as his most likely hands are ace king, ace queen, and ace jack suited. So I bet for $50 and he makes the call. The turn is the nine of diamonds, giving us a set and bringing in a second flush draw. Here, when he checks and flow to me, I decide to go small again. I know I have a super strong hand now, but I still think he's weak here, and I want to keep his ace highs in to give him a chance to make top pair. So I bet $75 and he calls again. The river is the 10 of diamonds, bringing in the front door flush, but when he checks to me, I should have the best hand here all day. So I jam for value and bet 120, and he tanks and ends up making the fold. This is another hand I played from TCH Social. In this hand, two players limped, and I raised in the cutoff with ace king to $15. The small blind, big blind, and both limpers called. The flop came king jack 4 with two hearts. Action check to me, and I bet for $30, and only the big blind made the call. When he calls in between with other players still yet to act behind him, he should have a pretty strong hand here, like top pair. But when he doesn't raise off, he shouldn't be so strong that he's beating me. So when the turn comes the 4 of spades and he checks to me, I go all in for 175 effective, and he makes the call. The river rolls off the queen of hearts, and we hold versus king 9.
My first poker hand is at Windstar playing 1-2, and we look down at 3-4 diamonds from the low jack, and we make it $11, and we get 5 callers, so let's go to the flop. The flop is the 2 of diamonds, the 5 of diamonds, and the jack of hearts. It checks to us, and now we see bet for $31. We get 2 callers, and now the middle position raises to 85. We think about it, but we just have too many good cards. So we call, and the two other players fold. The turn is now the 3 of hearts. Now middle position goes all in for $101. We just have so many outs that we obviously make the call. The river is the queen of clubs, and middle position shows king jack, and we lose with too many out syndrome. Hopefully, next time we can hit one of our outs. Okay, still playing 1-2 at Windstar, and this time we look down at 10-9 of spades, and we raise to $14 from ungun plus 1 position. We get 3 callers, which not too bad, especially with the drawing hand, so hopefully we hit something. The flop is the jack of spades, the 10 of diamonds, and the 7 of clubs. We bet $33, and we get 2 callers. Let's go to the turn. The turn is the 3 of spades, which is another good card for us. Now we bet $82 and we get 1 caller. The river, the 5 of hearts. So we debate what to do, and we rip it all in for $173, and the cutoff basically snap calls. They show queen jack offsuit, and I relearn a lesson I already knew, which is don't try bluffing and calling station, especially in low limit poker. They will call and not really think about anything else.
Soccer hooligans.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week for the Adam Minutes, we are discussing Arsenal and their love for the color red. And no, we're not talking about their primary jersey color or logo color. I'm talking about red cards, because these guys, they've played 8 Premier League games and they have 3 red cards in those 8 games. So almost 50% of their games, they're getting a red card, and that's pretty crazy. Mikel Arteta said after they had their second red card earlier in the season that the Premier League is probably going to see 100 red cards this year, which is, he was just saying that to say. He was out of his mind when he said it. At least I thought he was out of his mind when he said it. And then Arsenal just went and picked up another red card. They have been dropping points. This is not a good look for a team that was expected to be a title contender. Yeah, they're still in third place on 17 points, but they are 3 points behind Man City, who, by the way, is undefeated, hasn't lost yet. And they are 4 points behind Liverpool, who sit on 21 points, who have won 7 out of their 8 games. Now, The issue with these red cards is they were winning or tied in the games that they received these red cards. They were up 1-0 on Brighton when Rice got his 2 yellow cards in the first half, giving him a red card. They ended up tying that game 1-1. There's 2 points dropped right there. Next, they were playing Man City. They were up 2-1 against Man City when Trossard saw 2 yellow cards, giving him a red card. They ended up tying that game 2-2. Another 2 points dropped right there. And then this past weekend, we saw they were tied 0-0 with Bournemouth. Saliba got a straight red card. The discipline is just not there for them. They lose that game 2-0. That should be a win for Arsenal against Bournemouth. I know Bournemouth plays pretty well, but that is a game that you chalked up as a W at the beginning of the season. So there's 2, 4, 7 points right there that they dropped, probably because of those red cards. If they see all those games out as wins, they're in first place right now. They're sitting at 24 points. They're undefeated. Instead, here we are, third place, and it's not looking good for them. Liverpool's cruising. City's playing well. Arsenal's not playing bad, but if they don't get their act together, they could see more points dropped, and it could be catastrophic.
Here are a couple of fool's gold players to look out from last week. First up, Jonnu Smith, Miami Dolphins tight end. He had a very good game and has been a good tight end. But with Tua back next week, he'll be the fourth option as Tua will try to press the ball downfield and give it to his huge playmakers like Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Next, Cedric Benson, New Orleans, wide receiver. Olave will be back next week, and it looks like Bubba Means kind of has that connection with Rattler. So I wouldn't touch him, especially even if he's considered the number 2, because he's never done anything. He's been in the league for quite a long time, and he's just been kind of a guy. So I would not trust these 2 fool's gold players. Okay, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you haven't yet, please take a moment, hit that like, comment, subscribe. And if you do not know yet, on Saturdays we are dropping our start sits for the week. So check that out to make sure that you're watching, seeing the players you should be starting and sitting for fantasy football. And at 11 a.m. Central Time, we go live to kind of give you the best updates of what's going on for fantasy football. So check that out. We have our store. Go there, get some DGL merch, and have a great week.